Welcome into the Make the Money and Run podcast, a special NFL preview show for Divisional weekend. Last week, a party, Charlie O, intern Nick here. For those of you that missed our show yesterday, we said we'd be down here at the Britannia Arms in Capitola, right in the Capitola Village, on the shores of the Pacific Ocean. We're going to have some people join us with questions and whatever if we can get these things working. But right here, we are in the Britannia Arms in Capitola. In fact, I'm going to unplug the charge right now. I'm going to walk around, give everybody the view that we got over here. This is our friend Dave over here. Look at the alcohol for everybody if they want to come down. Here we are at the Britannia Arms. TVs everywhere. Soccer to start. We got the CBS game going on right now with the Auburn-Kentucky game, which I have Kentucky +4, if we're being fairly honest with ourselves. There's Shannon right here. Where's Shannon right there? Somewhere. There's Shannon right there serving up the drinks. And we got the TVs. I'm going to take us outside here. I'm going to show you all that's outside here on the patio. We got people on the patio here, so come on down to the Britannia Arms in Capitola, where we're doing our NFL preview show. We got the outdoor patio. We got the indoor patio over here. We got the Pacific Ocean over here. So it's not a bad place to be. Sorry for those of you on the East Coast, but that's where we are right now, checking out the view, checking out what's going on. But it's NFL preview weekend right here on the Make the Money and Run podcast. We got people out here celebrating the podcast. How you doing? What's going on? I'm sure there's a lot of Niner fans here, but I'm sure there's other teams going on here as well too. But here we are in Capitola. Please come down to the Britannia Arms of Capitola. We'll get set up and we're going to get started here right away. Those of you that missed our show, you can download and subscribe anywhere, but we're going to recap it. These are the lines going into the weekend right now. The divisional matchups. Tennessee has gone to 4. We'll tell you why in a second. 48 the total. That starts at 4:30, about an hour and a half from now, 90 minutes from now. That's 1:30 on the West Coast. Green Bay has gone down to 5 versus San Francisco tonight, 47.5. Tampa Bay, 2.5 and 48. That stayed the same from where it was yesterday, coming down from 3. And then Kansas City, we thought about this yesterday because Kansas City is not getting as much love as the Buffalo Bills are, probably because Buffalo put 47 points on Belichick and the Patriots last week. 1.5 and 54.5 versus the Bills in Kansas City. That's the last game of the day on Sunday. So 4 games this weekend. Here we go in terms of the game. So let's go back to what we talked about yesterday, Charlie, as we welcome you in. What's going on with these 4 games? The lines are moving a little bit. I know it's more than money, but I think the injury reports have come out as well. Looks like everybody's healthy except for a couple of people and the Rams on the Rams side of things. But right now the lines have moved a little bit on these games. What do you think, Charlie?
Well, I think that one of the things that we're seeing in the Tennessee game is the fact that now we know for sure that Derrick Henry is in. So that was bound to move that line a little bit. I mean, we told you yesterday Derrick Henry was going to be in. He as well told us that on Thursday. So we didn't really have much doubt about that. But I think that has made a move there. And then the fact is that late money's coming in as well. But I think the fact that everybody knows now that Derrick Henry is in there, you're going to see money going to Tennessee, and that's going to affect everything that's there. And of course, I think it's going to make it a heck of a much better game because Derrick Henry is going to be in there. The question is going to be, how effective is he going to be? 1, with a plate in his foot. Number 2, with the layoff. So that is the questions that will be answered, I think, very quickly in the first quarter and will help set the tone in that game.
Go ahead, Nick. What do you think in terms of the 4 games we got going this weekend?
Yeah, well, I agree with Charlie. The reason that the line is moving so much is definitely because Derrick Henry's playing, and it makes sense. He's one of the best running backs we've seen in a long time. He's a large guy. I think a plate in his foot will obviously, it would hinder any human being trying to run around with a football, and especially in a little cold weather. But the guy's a beast. Cincinnati doesn't have the best D tackles. I know Trey Hendrickson is really good and get to the quarterback, but their run game, or their stopping the run game, is where their weakness is at. So I definitely see why Tennessee's -4. But just at my first glance, if anyone knows what a teaser is, you can make 2 or 3 of it. If you do 2 of them, it usually bumps down the odds 6 points. So either Tennessee +2 or Cincinnati +10. And the over, I think the over of 48 is nice, even if you tease it down to 42.
I want to tell everybody in here that you can hear our show because I have the earbuds in with the noise. You can listen to us on Facebook Live if you want to listen to us right now. You can turn on the Facebook page, go to Make the Money and Run, or go to Vasu Vada Party and look us up, and you can hear our show live so we can hear Charlie and and Nick here on the show as well, too. All right, Burrow versus the Titans secondary. Talked about Kevin Byron, Bud Dupree, the main guys there, but they've given up some yards this year. The run defense has been suspect. The Titan running backs have combined for 50 yards less than what Derrick Henry did, so it's a big welcome for Derrick Henry to come back. And then not Tannehill. Tannehill's in the other game, but Tannehill versus the pass rush. I meant it is Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. Oh, I'm sitting here at a bar drinking. Okay, what a shock. Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback from Miami versus the pass rush of Cincinnati. 42 sacks. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, CJ Uzomah. Don't forget T. Higgins, as Nick mentioned yesterday. The big keys as we get to the injury reports here. Derrick Henry officially activated. He finished 9th in rushing for the entire year, and he missed the last 8 weeks, Nick, after missing a good portion of the season. Trey Hendrickson became active yesterday. He led the team in sacks. You mentioned that already, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the Tennessee Titans line holds up, because they've gotten to Tannehill this year a little bit, and the line has been backed up a little bit. They've had some injuries. They're all healthy, according to the report. We're 90 minutes into the game, so the injury reports come out, and they're officially active right now. So everybody's healthy for Tennessee. Everybody's healthy for Cincinnati right now. So that's a big deal with Hendrickson coming back, and that pass rush is very solid. They're going to have to protect that secondary against Tannehill, and I think the key is making sure the linebackers in the front four stop Derrick Henry, because he is starting for the Titans today. Nick.
Oh, I very much agree. Derrick Henry is going to be the main problem they have to worry about, especially because the Bengals last week let up 82 yards on 13 carries to Josh Jacobs. And Jacobs is a great running back. He's got a lot of good abilities with his elusiveness and a lot of other things. But Derrick Henry is a different monster when you're turning out there with that line running behind Taylor Lewan. So you've got to be a little nervous if you're the Bengals, and at least game planning specifically for Henry, and just got to watch out for the play action when A.J. Brown and Julio go deep.
Charlie, I was listening to somebody this morning talk, somebody, I guess a wagering show also, kind of like us, but they were kind of surprised that CJ Uzomah had over under 3.5 catches. He doesn't think that's a good matchup against the Tennessee Titans and their secondary, the safeties and the linebackers on the inside. I think that's a good matchup, and I think Joe Burrow has used him, especially in the red zone. But I remember watching the Raiders game twice against the Raiders last week and during the year, where he just went down the middle and he beat linebackers and safety going down the middle. And I know they've got Chase and they've got Higgins and they've got Boyd. Joe Mixon finished 4th in the league in rushing, but they don't run besides him. He only had 1,700 yards rushing, and 1,200 of it was by Joe Mixon. So I think C.J. Uzomah is very underrated in this game, unlike what I heard this morning.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Vasu, I was looking at some of the prop bets, and from DraftKings right now, one of their 5-star prop bets is under 3.5 receptions for Uzomah. And I'm going, really? I'm with you. I think that Burrows is going to be looking for him frequently in this game, because I think the pass rush from the Titans is going to be heavy. Now I know they've got a good linebacking core, and they're going to be keen on Uzomah. But man, I think they're going to be dependent on him, and I think they need him to perform if they're going to be able to stay in this game.
What would you do if you're Tennessee? I mean, I'd kind of lean the coverage over to Jamar Chase, obviously, with the years he's had. But then you got T. Higgins, who had a really good year, and then of course Tyler Boyd. He's been there for a number of years. He's a good slot receiver, but I can see both those receivers having a good day against the Tennessee secondary. They may not need to run Joe Mixon very much, but if they're going to control the ball late in the game, if they got a lead, then Joe Mixon needs to be there, Charlie.
Well, I mean, here's the question: would you rather give up yards to Chase, or would you rather give up yards to Uzomah? And my answer is I'll give up yards to Uzomah all day long, because they're going to tend to be 7, 8, 10 yards versus being 45 yards to Chase. So I'd rather double team and put that defense on Chase and give up those short yards to Uzomah. Now I know eventually that chewing up the field can come back and bite you, but if they're going to have success today, they've got to figure out what nobody else has been able to figure out how to do, and that's shut down Chase.
Last we've had a party, Charlie O, intern Nick, with the NFL Divisional Weekend live from the Britannia Arms in Capitola. If you live in the area, come on down and see us down here. Obviously, the 49ers are big down here, so we'll probably expecting a big crowd down here for this as we preview the 4 games for the weekend. Nick, last word on Tennessee and Cincinnati before we move on to tonight's game.
Yeah, so last night or yesterday, I know I talked a lot about T. Higgins, and today I did a little more research, and I do think he's the key difference in the game today for Cincinnati. And I know everyone talks about Jamar Chase, and he's been electric. He's one of the best rookie receivers I've ever seen come out of college straight away, especially given the drops. And everyone was saying how he was not going to be the best receiver they've seen in a while in preseason. But T. Higgins is one of the most talented receivers I've seen in a long time. He's 6'4". He can go up and get the ball. And keep in mind that the two top corners on the Titans are 5'10" and 5'11", Jenkins and someone else. They're really good corners. They have speed. They'll be able to kind of keep hang around with Jamar Chase when he runs, but I don't think they're going to be able to contest with T. Higgins in the red zone and with those long catches. So I'd be surprised if Higgins didn't get more than 8 targets at least in this one.
Janoris Jenkins, if you're in the know, otherwise known as Jackrabbit Jenkins, Christian Fulton, the other cornerback, Amani Hooker, Kevin Byard, the only Pro Bowler for the Tennessee Titans on defense. He's the hard-hitting free safety for the Titans there as well. Thanks to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Wanted to acknowledge Raymond. Raymond, if you connect your microphone and camera, you can come in and join us with a comment or two as we're here at the Britannia Arms in Capitola. All right, Bossy Battle Party. Intern Nick and Charlie O here on the special divisional weekend. 3 more weeks till the NFL is out, and then we focus on college basketball as I'm watching Auburn and Kentucky. Good college basketball this morning. I know it's NFL weekend, but I'm watching the end of this Auburn-Kentucky game. Not really surprised that Auburn's winning, but surprised that Kentucky gave it up late. But that's a different story in and of itself. Let's move on to tonight's game. The Green Bay Packers, the number 1 seed. By the way, Tennessee, a number 1 seed as well, too. They had the weekend off. Cincinnati beat the Raiders last week. San Francisco, we know about their win, especially if you live in this area. You know about the win over Dallas last week. The second half of the Rams game and the last regular season game, the first half of the Cowboys game and the playoff game, they got to put those 2 quarters together to go after the Green Bay Packers tonight, who give up a lot of yards in the rush, who give up a lot of yards through the air, but they've revamped their defense a little bit, so it may make it a little bit more tough. And San Francisco, surprisingly, the last 7 weeks has been the best rush defense in the NFL, but also the pass defense is a lot better than we thought, Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the pass defense has been better than we thought because of that defensive front. They put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And if they are firing, then it's gonna be a rougher night on Rodgers than what he would like to have. And the 2 keys there really are Bosa and my guy here from Elk Grove, who the name just popped out. So many names popping out of my head now.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you, who are you looking at? The defense, San Francisco defense.
Yeah.
Eric Armstead.
Armstead.
Yep.
Yeah. Whose name shouldn't pop out of my head because I know his mom. So anyway, those 2 guys are really key because they're quick. They are able to get through really fast. If you watch Bosa's move is he gets through and then he swings in around behind the quarterback and makes his sacks that way. Armstead tends to have that swim move that comes through, and he's so quick making that first jump, and he'll come through and he'll attack him from the front. And a lot of times the 2 of them will split a sack because they'll make that happen together. So if they can make that happen, then Rodgers is going to have a tough night. So a lot of what happens for Green Bay is going to be incumbent on their offensive line to try to shut down that defensive line. Now, the big question is Bosa's health. He went out last week with some concussion protocol. Doesn't seem to have been real serious because he got back into practice and full practice early this week. So that's the good news for the 49ers. But you always worry about that when you had that one game. Is it gonna jump back at you again in the following game quickly? So Bosa's health is a concern.
I'm looking at the depth chart right now for the San Francisco 49ers. There's nobody that's questionable on the top 2 other than Ambry Thomas, the cornerback who's played well the last few weeks. Josh Norman's listed as a starter right now, and I know that worries a lot of 49er people. But Ambry Thomas has been good. He got the interception against Matthew Stafford. Offensively, they're all healthy. What do we do? Do we set up a situation where they stop Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, or they stop Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard, and the rest of the Green Bay Packers offense led by number 12, Aaron Rodgers, Nick?
Yeah, well, definitely I think you have to keen in on Rodgers, but you have to do so by getting to him fast, like Charlie said, and not letting him hold on to the ball. He's so special because I can't tell you one reason why he's special. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. But
I can tell you why. I'm a Bears fan. I can tell you why.
Exactly. I can see that. I mean, if you let him hold the ball and you give him more than 3 to 4 seconds in the pocket, especially with Rodgers throwing to Adams and Lazard, who's been on the come up. Dillon and Jones both know how to run routes. You can't give Rodgers time. If you give Adams more than 4 seconds, he's going to shred every single corner. It doesn't matter if you're Jalen Ramsey, an all-pro corner. You can't have more than 4 seconds. So that's why, like Charlie said, Bosa and Armstead are so crucial. Even Fred Warner trying to split through the gaps when they run the ball. But just don't give Rodgers more than 4 seconds to throw the ball, and you should be good. Let him quick passes, and hopefully he makes a bad decision. But the more time you give, the longer he's gonna shred you apart. It gets dangerous once you give him time in the pocket.
All right, last word on the 49ers and Packers. I'll give it to both of you. What are you looking for? Keys to the 49ers offense, keys to the 49ers defense, Charlie. Keys to the Packers offense, keys to the Packers defense.
Well, the real key for the 49ers to start with is to stay warm. And I'm not joking about that. This is a very tough situation. You've got Jimmy Garoppolo, who has never played a game at under 40 degrees, going into a game tonight where the predicted kickoff temperature is 14 degrees with a wind chill factor of 1. And it's only going to get colder than that because it's going to be 7:15 Green Bay time when they kick off. It's going to be dark. It's going to be cold. So they've got to adjust to that. And don't forget, he's got ligament issues in that thumb. And the last thing they want to do is have it. Now they're going to have the battery heated gloves and everything else. But folks, if you're not used to that kind of cold, it will kill you. It really will. I mean, if you haven't experienced that kind of cold, and all our folks out here in California that watches and on the West Coast, you haven't experienced that kind of cold, and it's devastating. So number one is they've got to stay warm. Number two, the key to the 49ers is 30 rushes. I know you've heard me say this for the last 6 weeks, 30 rushes. That's what they have to do. If they don't rush the ball 30 times, if they get pushed into a situation where they're having to pass first, then rush, turn out the lights, darling. Go on home. The party's over.
All right, Nick, last word on the 49ers Packers.
Yeah, 100% agree with Charlie on that one. I think the key to the Niners' success is controlling the line of scrimmage on both ways, running with Trent Williams, Mitchell, Debo, and getting play action with Garoppolo and trying to sneaking through that way. And also for the Packers, I also think it's running the ball. As much as Rodgers is talented, you have to open up the play action and allow for Bosa to not get to you that fast, because if you just run out of the shotgun, they're knowing you're going to pass, and they're not going to give you more than 3 seconds. But you integrate that run, get Dillon and Jones going, and over time, Rodgers is one of the best I've seen with the play action. He can keep it under his stomach for 2 seconds without the defense knowing, so that gives the receivers a lot of time to run their routes, and that's when they're dangerous. So I think those are the keys to the game.
All right, the key for me is the pass rush to Aaron Rodgers. Got to get to the pass rush. Nick Bosa healthy. Bakhtiari is questionable right now at left tackle. Their backup left tackle got abused by by Philadelphia last week. Ryan Kerrigan abused him last week, so Nick Bosa is going to start. Everyone is healthy for San Francisco. Ambry Thomas, the only questionable one at cornerback, as we said. Everybody on Green Bay's defense is healthy. Some of the names to note on the Green Bay defense, if you're out here, Dean Lowry, Kenny Clark, the nose tackle, has been fantastic. Preston Smith, Darius Smith is active. He will play. Rashawn Gary, strong side linebacker, outstanding. Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage, ball hawking safeties. And Jair Alexander looks like he's healthy, with Rasul Douglas behind him as well. All right, in Tennessee and Cincinnati for me, get to the pass rush, get Trey Hendrickson on the move, get him going, go after Tannehill. Somehow you got to put 8 in the box and make Tannehill beat you. I think that's what everybody's formula was anyway all year before Derrick Henry went out with the injury. And so you just have to figure out how to stop Derrick Henry. You don't know how healthy he is. I'm sure they're going to gang tackle him and go after him in terms of trying to get him all set up. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I like both games. All right, let's make a pick here on these games before we take a break here. Charlie, go ahead. Tennessee -4, 47. I think, what did I say, 47.5 or 47 or whatever I said. Find
48.5. The last line I looked was 40.
4 and 48. 4 and 48. Green Bay 5 and 47.5. So I'm gonna let you make some selections here, Charlie.
Well, I'm going to go with the dog here. I'm going to take Cincy +4 in that game. I'm gonna step out there, and Joe Mixon better run the ball for me. Because if he doesn't, I'm done for. But I'm hoping that they're gonna rush that ball and then open it up for Burrows. That is my prayer. If they come out and think they're going to pass their way to the promised land, then I'm in trouble right from the get-go. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prop bet that in there. I am going to go Mixon under 16.5 rushes -115 in that game.
All right, so there you go. And I'll post it right after we get off here. I'll post it in time for the 4:30 kickoff for Tennessee. All right, Nick, go ahead with Tennessee, Cincinnati, and Green Bay, San Francisco.
Yeah, so Tennessee, Cincinnati, like I talked before, I love a teaser here. I'm going to go on the Tennessee Titans side because they're more experienced. They just got Henry back, and they've had a little time to game plan for the Bengals. So I'm going Tennessee +2, and I'm going to go with the over of 42. I'm going to bring it down from 48 to 42 because I think there's going to be a lot more scoring than people think in this game. And then on the player prop side, I love one player prop. My main one, like I said, T. Higgins. His yards are set at 64.5, so I think he's going to get around 8 targets at least, in my opinion. So I think that's value in alone in itself. And then the other one is over Derrick Henry, 82 rushing yards. I know he's coming back and might be a little limited, but it's the playoffs. They're going to run him into the ground if they can, and I'm pretty sure he's going to want to get the ball. So last time I saw Derrick Henry such low like that was 2 years ago before he ran 100+ every game.
All right, and what do you think about the night game, Nick?
Yeah, so for the night game, I think I'm going to be taking the Niners +5, but I'm going to be taking that with a grain of salt and praying that Rodgers doesn't shred us apart with Adams. But I am also taking Adams' yards and receptions. So his receptions are only set at 7 or 8, depends which book you're on. But I love that either way because the Niners' defense cannot guard him. We saw that early in the year, and even if they game plan for him, there's no way you can guard that man.
Different setup than week 3 when the Packers beat the 49ers in Santa Clara. Devontae Adams went for 12 and 132, 1 touchdown. He probably could have had 3 touchdowns. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, pretty much doubtful for the game, so that takes a little bit of a deep threat away for the Packers, so that could help the secondary a little bit for the Niners as well. We said Bakhtiari, questionable. He hadn't played all year. He played a little bit in the last game of the year. Their backup is Yosh Nijman at left tackle. They've also got Aquinius. They've also got, Yosh Nijman. Dennis Kelly has also played left tackle, too. They got him as a free agent from Tennessee. Royce Newman, Lucas Patrick also has played as well for the injured Packers offensive linemen as well. And they've had a couple of guys line. All right, before we go to break here, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take Cincinnati +4. I like Joe Burrow. I like that offense. I like the pass rush that they have, and I think if they can somehow figure out how to stop Derrick Henry, which I think they can, they will be able to go after Tannehill. They've had some stinkers this year. I know they're the number 1 seed, but that stinker against Houston at home really threw me for a loop, and I think that could be a possibility that Cincinnati, if they can get a lead and they can control the ball a little bit. Joe Burrow, I know he gets sacked a lot, and that's a big thing. Tennessee's got to get to him. If he gets sacked more than 3 times in a game, they lose, and it's been evident this year. The number 4 seed Cincinnati Bengals +4 against the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry and Mike Vrabel. And then the night game, that line keeps moving. It started 5, 4.5, went all the way up to 6 when Jimmy Garoppolo's shoulder came into play. Nick Bosa was injured as well too. It dropped to 5.5 yesterday. In fact, when we had our show yesterday, you can download and subscribe anytime you want on our podcast. And then it went to 5 today. I'm going to take the 49ers +5. I like the 49ers +5. I like their game plan. I like what they did against Dallas. I think that they can pass rush on Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be tough. You don't have to sack him, as we know. You just get pressures on him. Somehow you got to bracket Devontae Adams. Somehow you got to keep Lazard. You got to keep the other receivers off the charts, as they say, and then attack the secondary. Attack the secondary in passing situations, but attack those linebackers. Attack that front. The way you stop the pass rush for Green Bay, and they're good run stoppers, but I think the 49ers have better blocking right now. Offensive line is in sync. George Kittle, I don't know how many targets he's going to get. I think George Kittle's the key for the game as well, too. He had 7 catches against the Packers. They don't stop the tight end as well either. So you got to think that Deebo Samuel and George Kittle as well as Elijah Mitchell, going to be the best options for the 49ers, along with a mistake-free Garoppolo. Elijah Mitchell, by the way, missing 2 games, as Derrick Henry missed a lot of the year. He finished 8th in the league in rushing as well too, so he's had a very good year. So Mitchell and Henry, 8th and 9th in the league. All right, when we come back Sunday.
Do you want my 49ers prediction or not?
Oh, I thought you got it. I thought you gave it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you only asked me for about the first game.
Okay,
I am going to take the Packers minus the 5. It kills me to do that. You know that, because the 49ers are my team. But this is about cold-hearted wagering. I'm just telling you, that team, they're going to have sore joints. They're going to freeze up. I'm sorry to say that, but I think that's what's going to happen. I got a prop bet in this one as well. I am going to take Mitchell under 18.5 rushes minus 110.
All right, so there you go with Charlie's pick for the Packers and the Bengals game. Nick's pick for the Packers and the Bengals game as well too. He's got the 49ers. I've got the 49ers and the Bengals, the 2 underdogs. I stay away from the prop bets. I leave it up to you guys for the prop bets. All right, when we come back,
and we're the ones making the money. Come on, dude.
Well, Nick is for sure. Nick is doing well on that. Absolutely. All right, the Make the Money and Run podcast live from the Britannia Arms at Capitola. We'll continue in 30 seconds. We'll get to the Sunday games. Big games on Sunday. They might be the better games than today, with Tampa Bay and the Rams, and Buffalo and Kansas City. We'll be back in 30 seconds. The Make the Money and Run podcast live from Capitola at the Britannia Arms of Capitola in the Capitola Village. Come down and watch football all day here and have one of those Irish coffees that I just finished. And, I have water right now, so we'll be good for the second segment there. All right, Charlie O, intern Nick, Vasu Vada Party, back in 30 seconds. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast from the Britannia Arms of Capitola. We did this at the beginning. We'll do this in the end here. See all the liquor, all the people that are here watching football, watching golf. We got the game started at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. Look at this ocean view out here, the Britannia Arms of Capitola. The people out here enjoying the sun before football starts on the Make the Money and Run podcast here. So the Pacific Ocean's right here. Come on down, watch football. You got the street out here with all the ocean and everything like this going on. We got it all going on over here. So welcome back, Vasu Vada Party. Charlie O, intern Nick, with the Make the Money and Run podcast as we get ready for divisional football this weekend. All right, we got the early games out of the way. So let's get to today's games out of the way. Let's get to the Sunday games, which I think might be a better setup here based on how it's set up. I don't know why although Green Bay is going to be the coldest city of the 4 cities, and yet they get the primetime game at 7 degrees. 7:15 kickoff. By the way, I just want to update Charlie. Charlie said Green Bay time 7:15. Charlie, I believe that's Central time, no matter where you are in the Central time zone.
That's why it's 7:15.
I know, but everybody in the Central time zone also at 7:15, not just Green Bay. I'm just having a cheap laugh at your expense. I'm sorry.
Have another Irish coffee. You're getting smart.
Pretty close.
I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to let him know. That's it. No more Vasu.
Vasu Vada Party, Charlie O, intern Nick, Make the Money and Run at the Capitola Village, the Britannia Arms of Capitola. Come down and watch all the football. We're still about 60 minutes away from football. We got all the injury reports from Tennessee and Cincinnati. All right, the first game tomorrow. Matthew Stafford, quarterback for the Rams, 3rd in the league in yards passing. Tom Brady at 44 years old, the league leader in yards passing, as we said yesterday. Cooper Kupp had 145 catches. How about that? 1,947 yards. Charlie told me yesterday that was not a record for most yards received in a year. I should have looked that up before today after he said that.
He came just short. He needed like 100 and he needed like 114 or something in the last game, and he came up just short.
137.
Okay, there we go.
We'll figure out who the record was.
See, we need the young brain to look all that stuff up for us. So
I believe the record was Calvin Johnson a few years ago. They both did it with Matthew Stafford, which was really impressive.
Right. I think You're right. I think
Oh,
he did
there
have
we
the
go.
best
Now, see, that will become a trivia question in about 10 years.
Intern Nick living up to his billing as intern Nick, looking up all the numbers for us. We appreciate that. All right. Capitola Village, the Dan Ramps Capitola. Beautiful day here in the mid-60s. NFL football going to start in about 60 weeks. We talked about the Saturday games already. Now the Sunday games, Tampa Bay, LA. We talked about Brady and Stafford. Everybody knows about that. Cam Akers came back after 5 months off an Achilles heel. That's Achilles tear, I should say. That's unbelievable. He looked good against Arizona. We talked about Arizona yesterday. Tampa Bay 3rd versus the rush, 21st versus the pass. Stafford does throw the ball around. He does throw interceptions. Mike Evans, 74 catches for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I think this game's going to be in the tight ends, especially in the red zone. Rob Gronkowski, 55 catches. He missed 3 games this year, but he's as valuable as any receiver. You got to remember, Tampa Bay doesn't have Antonio Brown. Chris Godwin has been out for the year. He's on injured reserve. Scotty Miller, a backup receiver. They don't have Rashad Perryman either. He's out as well, too, as I look at the depth chart. Cyril Grayson, who was the other starting wide receiver last week against Philadelphia, he's questionable for tomorrow as well. And then that offensive line that got beaten up, Ryan Jensen at center, could barely walk, and then Tristan Wirfs, the right tackle, he had to sit out for about a couple of series, and they got to go with Josh Wells is the one I was thinking of. They got beat up by Ryan Kerrigan last week at the right tackle spot. So Wirfs and Jensen, big parts of that timing offense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Charlie.
Yeah, everybody can go, well, no, Antonio Brown. Have the Buccaneers really suffered that much because of that? I mean, the answer
No, I'm
is
talking about the offensive line, though. That offensive line is a big key for them.
Well, yeah, but they were bound to have offensive line problems at some point. I mean, you can't go 2 seasons with injury free, and they haven't not been practicing those guys. They have not been not building depth on that team. So I don't know. Maybe I'm blind, but I'm not all that worried about them. These guys have been plug and play ever since Brady's gotten there. And I just, I'm not a believer in repeat Super Bowl champions. And I'm not saying that they're going to be, but everybody keeps telling me, oh, this is happening. This is happening. Oh, this is it. This is the collapse of the Buccaneers. And then they turn around and it's, okay, we're fine. They just, steady Eddie, keep moving, everything else. And I'm yet to see the thing that's happening that's the collapse of the Buccaneers.
All right. Well, before we get to Nick's take on this, let me explain something here. Not explain it, but let me detail something here. As far as Joe Wells, if you got to go with backup centers and backup tackles against the Rams, the Philadelphia Eagles, I saw Ryan Kerrigan abuse Joe Wells last week until Wirfs came back in or until they figured out how to neutralize Kerrigan. The Rams, they have a guy named Aaron Donald who will absolutely line up over Joe Wells if he's there. Leonard Floyd on the weak side linebacker spot, he rushes the passer. Von Miller, you heard of him. He's a Super Bowl MVP. He'll rush the passer. And, oh, by the way, their defense, Darius Williams, Nick Scott, Taylor Rapp is out, but they've got Terrell Burgess at the backup safety, and Jalen Ramsey. David Long was the one that got the pick 6. I don't know. They blitz from anywhere on the field, and to have backups in there might take a little bit of doing. This team is the only team, and I'll venture, I didn't look it up, but I'll venture this is the only team to sack Brady more than 3 times or more this year, and they had 3 sacks in that game that they played earlier in week 3, 38-20. The Rams beat them and when they were on a roll at that point. So it just happens to be that they're playing the same team that got to Brady 3 times. Deshaun Jackson was there. Now they've got Beckham. Here, and that's definitely an upgrade. Here's the key for the Rams. Nick, Andrew Whitworth is out. He's going to be backed up by Joe Noteboom. Tampa Bay has a pass rush as well, too, but they're pretty feisty against the run. The free safety, Taylor Rapp, is out, as just said, for Tampa Bay. No running backs. Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette on the injured reserve. Ronald Jones questionable. He probably will be out. Grayson, as we said, and Perriman both out. Keyshawn Vaughn and Giovanni Bernard were the running backs last week against Philadelphia. So what's your take on the Rams and Buccaneers here, Nick?
Yeah, so the Buccaneers running back situation does hurt a lot. I know Vaughn looked all right. I think he's a rookie or second year. I'm not too sure on that one. But Bernard did look a little spry. I think he still has some bounce in his step. And I think they can lean on him. Brady loves his passing catching running backs like Deion Lewis, James White in the past. Now it's Bernard. It was Leonard Fournette, but he's out. And so I think the key to the winning against the Rams is controlling the line of scrimmage. That's why the only reason the Niners can take them down, or the only team that can take them down, is the Niners. They can run 30 times again, like Charlie mentions every time. If you run a ton on the Rams, you have a good chance because their best players on defense are pass rushing. Donald's going to get to you quick. He's going to get to the quarterback. Von Miller's going to do the same thing, and Ramsey's a lockdown corner, especially those safeties they have. You have to run the ball against them. You can't get into a passing game where Tom Brady's going to hold on to the ball for 4 seconds and get sacked. He's going to get out the ball. He's going to have to get the ball out quick with screen passes or just running it.
Darius Williams, the other cornerback as well, too. He's been really good, Charlie, for the Rams, along with Jalen Ramsey. I want to shout out people on Facebook here. Thanks to Zeph. He gave us the Megatron comment to validate intern Nick's one more week stand on the show here by correctly picking up Megatron. And then a Patriot fan that Zeph is, I do know who he is. Tom Brady has won him a lot of championships, so historically dumps the ball when the offensive line gets beat up. We know how the Patriots were in some of those years. He dumps it off fast. But they did sack him 3 times, and they got to him. Fournette is on injured reserve. He's out. Ronald Jones will probably be out. And Keyshawn Vaughn and Giovanni Bernard. By the way, Ron Jaworski was doing the game last week for the Philadelphia-Tampa Bay game on radio. And apparently all this terminology in the NFL, and I love the terminology, it all means the same thing, everybody. It's so funny. Giovanni Bernard, they love him in space. So you know what they call a running back in space, Charlie?
I have no idea.
They call him a satellite back because he's in space. Ron Jaworski, not me. He's the one who said it.
Hey, I love Jaws. Don't get me wrong. As a matter of fact, I am so glad that Jaws is back on the radio doing games. I'm thrilled. I love him. So I like that. The satellite back. I will steal that and not give him credit. So
well, the colleges started the orbit motion or the halo motion. So now that's another piece of terminology.
And the 49ers have the Deadpool formation with Debo. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff now. So I like it. It makes it fun. But guys, you talk about Brady. The one thing, and I know I've beat this horse until it's bloody and laid over and ready for the slaughterhouse, but I'm going to come back to the one thing that Brady has done that is going to make it tough, and I don't care who you got on the other side of the defensive line, is that under 2.5 second release. And it's not just that any quarterback can do that. Now, I don't know that they can do it with the accuracy that he can. In fact, I would say no, they can't. But one of the things that they do to compensate for all of that is that they get out, they run those patterns quick, they set up, and they're ready to go. And if you can keep continuing to throw that ball that quick, that puts so much pressure on that defensive line. And you know what? For your offensive line, if you can get that play completed that fast, you are really helping to compensate for what weaknesses are there. Now, I'm not saying that, a guy like Donald, oh, Lord, would we all love to have that guy?
Oh, and Leonard Floyd and Von Miller. I have no
problem seeing best defensive player in all of the National Football League. I don't have any problem saying that. But, 2.5 seconds, it's tough to work your way through unless somebody just parts it like the Red Sea. It's really tough to work yourself through a line that quick. So that's where I see the problem for the Rams is that the Buccaneers have figured out a way to compensate for their weaknesses. And that's what it's going to, somehow LA has got to figure out how to manipulate that. And that's easier said than done, as we've seen what the Buccaneers have done all season.
All right, last thing on the Rams and Buccaneers from my standpoint, Andrew Whitworth, probably the best offensive lineman they have, 40-year-old left tackle, backed up by Joe Noteboom. We said that, but the Tampa Bay pass rush has been okay this year. The run defense has been better, but Andrew Whitworth, the left tackle, he's the big protector for Matthew Stafford. You have Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, William Golston on the three down linemen. Jason Pierre-Paul, who's been a pass rusher with the Giants in the past, he's questionable. Then Devin White, Levante David, Shaquille Barrett, they can blitz from anywhere. Sean Murphy-Bunting is questionable. But I saw last week against Philadelphia where Winfield and Whitehead were both blitzing from their safety spots as well. Nick, what do you think about the fact that Whitworth's out, how they're going to be able to neutralize Tampa Bay coming at that with that rush. We know about the rush defense, but the pass rush is what I would think they're worried about because Whitworth is out now.
Yeah, that's a huge loss. Whitworth is one of the veterans in the NFL, especially for the Rams. He's been there for a long time. I think he was on the Super Bowl run against the Patriots on that team. He was
former
a
Bengal, by the way. Former Bengal, too, by the way.
He was a staple on that line, and that's going to be a big loss, especially for Matthew Stafford's blind side. And you have Shaquille Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul coming in from those sides. So he's going to be nervous thinking about that all game, but you can only hope that maybe they double the left side, at least shift towards that area so Stafford can see at least the pass rusher coming from his right and not his blind side and gets taken out. But I think the key to this game, this is going to be a great game, but in the end, I think it's going to come down to the intellectual ability of Tom Brady and him just playing in the league for so long, knowing almost every defensive scheme and just knowing how to get the ball and where the blitzes are going to come from. And I think that's what Tom Brady is going to excel in the last 2 minutes of the game.
The intellectual ability, I think he grew up in Silicon Valley with the venture capital people. I think the intellectual property is kind of where it goes. Nice job, Nick. Way to come out. University of Oregon education coming through. There
See, I knew if we sent this guy to college, it'd be okay.
Well, I think I got to give Scott and Rita a little credit for that too. We didn't actually send them there, but we get to reap the reward.
Hey, don't give away all of our secrets. Don't give away, come on.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Rita. How are you both, by the way? You ready for fine stuff? All right. Last thing on this game for me is that Matthew Stafford. He's got Beckham. He's got who else do they have receiving one? I think the tight ends are going to be very big in this game, both Gronkowski and Tyler Higbee, especially if you got 2-step drops. Cooper Kupp, obviously Cooper Kupp. You got Beckham. I can't even believe I didn't say Cooper Kupp first. Kupp, Beckham, Van Jefferson had a great game against the Cardinals last week, and Tyler Higbee caught a touchdown pass as well too. And then you look at Tampa Bay. That's a way to neutralize the Tampa Bay rush. And Stafford, if he doesn't go after the big play all the time, he won't end up throwing the ball in interceptions. And then you got Tampa Bay. Of course, you got Tom Brady. Everything starts with Tom Brady. Blaine Gabbert is the backup, so I'm sure they want to get the pass rush in there if they're going to go after Blaine Gabbert. But Gronkowski to me is the big part. And then that offensive line with Jensen and Wirfs questionable. Donovan Smith, the left tackle, who's protected Brady all year. Ali Marpet at left guard, and then Alex Kappa at the right guard with the 2 questions at center and right tackle. So where do we stand here from the standpoint of what do we like in this game, Charlie and Nick?
Well, who I like in the game to win is Tampa Bay. As far as the spread, I hate the spread in this game.
We can save it for Social Media Selection Sunday.
Nope.
We still got to wait for the injury report.
Because I'm going to totally wimp out, and I'm going to jump on the money line, and I am going to take Tampa Bay minus 145. I'm just going to wimp out here and go to the money line because I can't make my mind up. I really can't. I think it's going to be a whale of a football game, but I'm going to the money line, and then I'm also going to the prop line, and I'm going to take Tyler Johnson under 3.5 receptions minus 135.
All right, and we have the right to change because our social media selections come up at noon Eastern tomorrow. So check us out on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube as well. But right now, since we have all that time before the injury reports come out, go ahead, Nick. Last thoughts on Tampa Bay and the Rams.
Yeah, so like I said with the first game, the Bengals game, this line scares me a lot. Like Charlie said, the minus 2.5. So I think the way to go from my standpoint is a 2-game teaser, bringing the Bucks down from minus 2.5 to plus 4 or plus 4.5, and then also taking the under. It's originally 48, but it would be moved to 54, and I would take the under there. I think there's going to be a lot of sacks in this one. There's going to be a good amount of punts, and I could see the end score being around 24-20, something like that. But I don't think there's going to be that many points scored in comparison to the other games. But in this one, from a player prop wagering standpoint, I don't see myself going away from Gronk. He's going to have a monster game in this one, especially without Godwin. And then I know Brady loves Evans. He's a big body. He's one of the most consistent receivers in the NFL for the last few years. But I know he's going to be guarded by Jalen Ramsey, or at least shadowed at some point. And it's hard to throw the ball Ramsey's way. So Gronk's going to be open every time for that safety valve. And I think he's going to dump it off. So 65 yards for Gronk. The over is an easy lock in my mind.
All right. That's Tampa Bay and the Rams. Let's get to the last game. Willie Gay of the Kansas City Chiefs, he's going to play. He has some legal issues coming up, but they're healthy. Both teams are healthy. is on injured reserve, so that might hurt the Buffalo Bills a little bit. Although nothing hurt them last week based on the number of points they put up on the New England Patriots. They split the series with the Patriots. They played Kansas City in Week 5, 38-20, Buffalo over Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes was kind of pedestrian. I mean, he threw for a lot of yards, but 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Kansas City fumbled the ball. They did not sack Josh Allen, that front four, and the linebackers did not sack Josh Allen. 315 yards passing on 26 attempts, 3 passes, and 1 rushing touchdown for Josh Allen. The line has started 3. It's gone to 2.5, and now 2, and now 1.5 as we open the show today. 1.5, 54 the total on the game. I mean, I see a lot of points in this game too. 38-20 was the score of the game, but 54.5, it might go over again too. But I'm just all over Buffalo on this game here, Nick.
Yeah, I definitely like Buffalo as well. I think the revenge narrative from last year, I still remember Diggs standing on the field watching the Chiefs celebrate in the AFC Championship last year, and I think that's going to add fuel to the fire for him. And Josh Allen, as special as we think Mahomes is, and I dare say he's very special. I can't say anything bad about him, but Josh Allen has been the most impressive quarterback this year, in my opinion, just from a standpoint that he can make something out of nothing, just like we said with Mahomes the other year. And he's become such a better game manager too, and staying in the pocket and being poised and not running away immediately when the pocket collapses. So Buffalo is very, very talented all over the field, and I think that they can squeak it out in the end, and I agree with you.
All right, Charlie. Very interesting scenario that Kansas City and Buffalo has set up in Kansas City. They usually win in the playoffs, but I still got a feeling that Buffalo has a chance to come in and be able to still take this game.
Yeah, first of all, I don't care about Week 5, okay, because these two teams are not the same two teams that we saw in Week 5, because both of them were really an anomaly in Week 5 to what we thought they were going to be. As a matter of fact, by about Week 7 or 8, we were asking ourselves the question of who are these two teams? We thought these teams were going to be Super Bowl contenders, and we were ready to flush them both out of existence because they were playing so poorly. And then over the course of the season, they finally started to mold themselves back in and became who we thought they were going to be. So this game has the potential to be the game that we want, because they now both become the teams that we want them to be. I mean, you got two quarterbacks coming in who just threw 5 touchdowns each last week. Okay, I mean, what more do you want? I mean, boom. Okay, this is excitement city. But guys, if this game were in Buffalo, I would have different feelings for a couple of reasons. And here I go, Mr. Meteorologist again. Okay, number one, I would have a different feeling about it because Buffalo's weather is a home field advantage in January. The stadium in Buffalo is an advantage because the crowd in Buffalo is hostile and exciting. But here's the problem. They're at Arrowhead. And you know what Arrowhead is? Arrowhead is a home field advantage. That crowd is loud and they're nasty, and it's hard for the other team to hear signals and everything else. And it's going to be tough to win there. Okay. Now, do I think it's going to be a runaway for either team? No, absolutely not. But it is on the road, and on the road in the playoffs, it's hard to win. And I think even though the teams are pretty evenly matched up, this is where having the game at home really starts to tilt it for me for Kansas City, because I think both teams are right now who we thought they would be, and you're looking for every little bit of an advantage. And right now, home cooking is that advantage.
All right, Patrick Mahomes, very tough to sack. Rousseau, Oliver, Phillips, and Hughes along the front four. Milano, Edmonds, and Klein, 3 very good linebackers, 2 all-pro linebackers in the past, versus a Kansas City defense of Chris Jones on the defensive end, Frank Clark on the other defensive end, and Jaron Reed and Derek Nandi in the middle. Whose pass rush gets to either quarterback here, Nick?
Yeah, so I think neither of them get to the quarterback as we expect or as the team would expect. I don't think there's going to be more than like 5 or 6 sacks in this game because they're going to be slinging it all over the field and they're going to expect them to sling it. So you're going to have to score if you want to keep up in this game. That's why the over is always enticing when these two teams match up. But Vegas probably knows something setting it so high, but it just makes sense that it's going to be back and forth, score, score, field goal, score, score. And so that's what I expect. But the one thing that just pops out to me when I look at the prop builders for this game and has stood out the last few days and hasn't moved is Stephon Diggs' 6 receptions is set at minus 139. And it's a revenge game for him. You know that, like I said before, he was not happy and he took that last year's loss very hard. And I think he's going to feast in this game. And he's going to come out with vengeance. And he's putting up more than 6 receptions at least. And I think that's so nice. That's valuable.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see how this game turns out. Kansas City, Buffalo, 1.5. You guys hear me okay?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay. Buffalo, 1.5 point underdog, 54.5 the total. It'll be very interesting. I want to see how Kansas City pass rush gets to Josh Allen. Remember, Josh Allen rushed for 766 yards this year as well, too. That's that only Lamar Jackson had more yards rushing as a quarterback. So as we wind up here on the end of this NFL divisional preview show for the Make the Money and Run podcast, we've got it all set up for the 4 games. The Tennessee and Cincinnati game going to start in about 45 minutes. Fox will have the 49ers-Packers game, Tennessee-Cincinnati on CBS. Fox tonight, the Rams and Buccaneers on NBC, and the Bills and Chiefs on CBS. So we will set it all up for you. Nick, go ahead with your picks again for the 2 games today.
Mm-hmm. So today I'm taking Tennessee +2 in a teaser, as well as the over of 42 because it's originally 48, but I'm moving it down. And then in the other game, I'm taking the Niners +5.5, and then I'm going with Adams receptions. And then in the first game, Higgins receptions yards was a main one. Higgins 66 yards is my main play.
All right, Charlie, go ahead with these 2 games today.
So I'm going with Bengals +4, and then I got to remember what my prop bet was. What was my prop bet?
Under carries?
Yeah. Mixon.
Yeah,
Mixon under 15.5 on the carries. There we go on that. And then let me get back over here. Geez, I'm glad he has a young mind. Good Lord. And then I'm growing Green Bay -5.5. And I'm doing Elijah Mitchell under 18.5 on the carries.
All right, I'm going to take Cincinnati +4, and I'm going to take San Francisco +5 tonight. Don't forget to check out our social media. We'll have one more post, and at 6:30 Eastern, I'll post our picks. I'll post our picks that we just had just now, so everybody has them before 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. Thanks to everybody for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We appreciate it. We'll be back during the week, Thursday and Friday, for our 2 shows, and of course, social media selections every day by 6 Eastern, 3 o'clock. And we thank everybody for joining us as well, too. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody as well, but it's going to be an interesting divisional weekend. Next weekend, conference championships. And, of course, during the week, we have NBA, NC2A hoops, some NHL to talk about as well, too. For Charlie O, intern Nick, I'm Vasi Vatapart, the Make the Money and Run podcast, NFL divisional preview show. We are done. We are out. Enjoy the games. Good luck on your games, and we will talk to you very soon. Take care, everybody.